So welcome to part 2 of cerebral spinal bathing, how you actually get brainwashed every 12 hours. So if you haven't yet watched part 1, go ahead and pop over and check that out so you have some context for this video, where we're going to learn how your cerebral spinal fluid is tied to hydration and how they're both conducting the symphony of your mental health and your spiritual awareness. Now, as we said before, cerebral spinal fluid is basically seawater. It's only one little molecule different from seawater. And in fact, CSF is so much like the ocean, it also has waves. So there are zillions, approximately, of tiny little hairs on the inside of your CSF-filled ventricles in the brain that are called cilia. And they're constantly dancing and pulsing, creating rhythms and waves in the CSF, just like waves in the ocean. So if the cerebral spinal fluid is only one molecule different from seawater, then what can we learn from the ocean that will help us better understand our state of being? Well, to answer this, let's take a look at ancient Maori wisdom. Now, the Maori have a profound relationship with the ocean, and they consider it to be a planetary scale crystal. So could our CSF also act as a crystal? And if so, how does crystal behave? Well, crystals have been an invaluable tool in all kinds of technology, right? From quartz-based computer chips to watches to LCD or liquid crystal display screens like the one you're watching this on right now. And this is because crystals have highly organized repeating patterns in their molecular structure, which allows them to sense, store, transduce, and transmit frequencies. Now, some crystals are piezoelectric, some are dielectric, some are ferroelectric, etc. And as it turns out, so is your cerebral spinal fluid. It's some of the most highly structured water in your entire body, probably second only to the water surrounding your DNA, but that's another topic for another video. Now, the CSF doesn't just flow through your spinal column, it actually spirals through it. In fact, the German word for spinal column is spiral column, and the German word for vertebrae is vortices. Now, if you've watched any of my previous videos, you know that vortexes create structure in water, and they also act as portals of energy transference, as water is the mediator between physicality and the zero-point energy of the quantum field, but again, that's kind of another topic for another time, maybe. Now, the vertebral vortices along your spine structure your cerebral spinal fluid, making it a more conductive fluid. And according to Dr. Mauro Zappaterra, one of my favorite CSF experts, he actually received his MD and his PhD from Harvard. He says that CSF is constantly transmitting both vibration and light. And the energetic field that it creates can reach every major center of the brain and the entire central nervous system instantaneously and non-synaptically, meaning without a thought process. So it's these spontaneous states of being that arise not through mental machinations, but through the wisdom of light that is conducted by water. So this is why when we're stuck in a malaise, we can't just think ourselves out of it, right? I mean, affirmations and positive thinking are great, but they're never going to cure depression. Mental health starts with hydration. So your CSF courses up and down your spine once every 12 hours, and along the way it receives electromagnetic and chemical signals. It gets patterned with the electromagnetic fields generated by your 7 main nerve plexus, interestingly located right where the 7 chakra centers are. And it also receives hormones generated in your 7 main endocrine glands, which are also correlated to the 7 main chakra centers. Now, as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, thoughts are electrical and emotions are magnetic. So the cerebral spinal fluid is the electromagnetic conductive medium that mediates between the mind and the body, between the thoughts and the emotions, and the physical form. So then this highly charged and intelligent substance, which has made the long journey up and down your spine to learn all about your state of being as it flows along that super highway of your spinal column or spiral column, it then culminates in the 3rd ventricle at the center of the brain. Now, just in front of the 3rd ventricle is the pineal, and in back of it is the pituitary. And these 2 glands are always bathed in cerebral spinal fluid, and they're the master glands of the endocrine system, also associated with the 6th and 7th chakras of higher wisdom. Now, the 3rd ventricle was referred to by the Taoists as the crystal palace, and the yogis called it the cave of Brahman. So notice how these glands get bathed in CSF. And the spiritual teacher Nisargadatta said, the fluids come together and the sense I am appears. And in fact, references to the spinal stairway to heaven can be found in pretty much all traditions throughout time. In the yogic tradition, the cerebrospinal fluid was referred to as amrita, and it's said to drip from the pituitary gland. And it's actually possible to taste this during certain breathwork practices. And in Torah symbolism, the dividing of the Red Sea or the choroid plexus is the separation of CSF from blood. It's called the crystal clear sea in front of the throne of God. And in the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying, there's a Buddhist practice of transferring your consciousness to the Buddha consciousness. And one of the signs that you've done this practice correctly is a tingling at the top of the head and clear liquid droplets forming right at the fontanelle. So mental, emotional, spiritual, physical health, they're not separate. The Western mind loves to niche down and compartmentalize, but the hydration of our physiology directly affects our mental health, which directly affects our spiritual connectivity, and vice versa. We are not just chemical machines that require food calories like a car needs gas to run. We're electromagnetic beings whose life force is conducted by water through the vessel of our bodies. Now, most of the energy that your body runs on is not caloric, it's hydroelectric. Most of the function of your brain is not chemical, it's hydroelectric. We are crystalline oceans of electrical conductivity contained in skin. So, can we start acting like it? The vibration, the light that is conducted by your CSF is the life force energy that is never born and never dies. And according to spiritual masters, it's the soul force. The CSF acts as the antenna that receives and transduces that soul force into the verb that we call being and the noun that we call human being. So hydrate and program that liquid crystal responsibly, fam, because it is creating your experience of reality on both literal and metaphysical levels. So my invitation to you is to inhabit your spine, connect to the fluid nature of your being. You are not just particles, you are waves. And if you want to experience this right now, you can download this free guided meditation that I recorded for you, inspired by Dr. Zappaterra, and it will help you tap into the wisdom of your cerebrospinal fluid. So now let's bring it back down to a super practical level here. How can we actually hydrate for better mental health? 1, drink structured electrolyte-rich water. You want to get your full spectrum of minerals in your water as nature intended, since minerals are the precursors to tryptophan and serotonin, etc. 2, as Dr. Van Anrooy says, marinate your brain in omega-3s. So fats are key to your body's ability to retain the water that you drink and eat. So check out some fatty acid supplements that I'll link below. 3, avoid dehydrating foods and activities. So EMFs from electronics are dehydrating, coffee, tea, and alcohol are dehydrating. Being stagnant is dehydrating because movement is actually what allows the fascia to irrigate your cells and tissues. 4, get my quick start hydration guide, which is an easy, super basic checklist for quenching your thirst. It's free, I'll link it below. And if you want to learn and experience hands-on how to make your own CSF into vibrant, living, healing water, and if you want to cultivate a deeper connection with the liquid source of life in general through the merging of science and spirit, then I hope you'll join us at the sacred waters of Koh Phangan in Thailand in May for a 6-day immersion into the depth of water's mysteries. So early bird discount is available now. It's super affordable. It's infinitely valuable. And you can find details at waterslife.love/retreat. So I hope you've gotten some value out of this. If you've learned something new, please like, comment, and share. If you want to stay in the loop about water, you can visit my site, subscribe to the newsletter, or follow me on Instagram at JenIsabelFriend. Or you can join our brand new Waters Life Facebook group to connect with other bodies of water. So have a blessed day and stay hydrated.